Okay, it might be time to kick things off. So, first introduction is for myself. My name is Alex. I'm with Okendo, obviously. I'm the APAC Enterprise Account Executive here. So, you'll catch me speaking to all of our customers, new and we've got Jacob, who's just joined us as well. Good to see you here. And then we've also got Cal from the Working Party as well. So, sorry, Jacob's from Modibodi, Jake and Cal from the Working Party. I'll pass over to you guys. I'll let you run quick introductions to yourself before we kick off our session on turning data into dollars. Jacob, let's kick off with you.
Hey everyone, my name's Jacob. As Alex has kindly pointed out, I'm the head of e-commerce at Modibodi, and Modibodi is a leader in the direct-to-consumer sustainable leak-proof underwear place or leak-proof apparel.
Cal, throw to you.
Fantastic. Good morning, attendees. My name is Cal Wilson. I am the CEO and the co-founder of e-commerce agency, The Working Party. We're an Australian and New Zealand business that works with brands to help them grow online. We only work with Shopify, and we're hyper-focused on helping retailers achieve significant growth on that platform. Really happy to be here and excited to talk with Jacob about what has been a really impressive project.
Awesome. And I guess maybe to kick things off and to set the scene just a little bit, Jacob, could you share, just a little bit of information about Modibodi's top priorities for 2025? And I guess if we could, zoom in a little bit on, customer marketing and that strategy.
Yeah, sure thing. I think that at the top level, I think what Modibodi is trying to do is similar to what a lot of D2C and e-com businesses is trying to do is improve that acquisition efficiency. So looking at the cost of acquiring customers, that's obviously rising all around the world for everyone. So making sure that we're getting efficiency there. And then also, improving retention. So once we've got those customers in, looking at that lifetime value and increasing that. A lot of that is through the collection of zero and first party data. So making sure that we're actually getting leads, getting those customers, bring them in order to reduce the cost of getting those customers, and then get more out of those customers over time and provide more value to those customers over time, I should say. And in particular, with Modibodi, we've got a little focus on the Northern Hemisphere. So Australian-born company that's really established and pretty well established as the market leader in Australia, New Zealand, and a couple other select areas. But the new frontier is really that Northern Hemisphere where we see a big opportunity to, serve more customers.
Yeah, really exciting. Great strategy. With, I guess, particular focus on sort of reviews and quizzes, how does this sort of shape and form part of your marketing strategy to hit these goals and retention and customer acquisition?
Yeah, I think that it's quizzes have actually been really, I mean, that's why we're here today, right? It's because quizzes have been a really effective part of the strategy for us at Modibodi. The initial impetus for implementing the quiz was really around guided selling and assisting that conversion. So Modibodi's product is inherently a bit more of a complicated sell, right? It's not just a fashion product that you like to look at and you purchase. You need to answer questions about your flow and your absorbency, or what absorbency you need, what size or color, what style. So it is a more involved process. So having something like a quiz or a guided selling element to help people make that decision and reduce decision fatigue was the initial impetus for bringing a quiz on board. What we've then found off the back of that is it's been really effective in a couple of ways. One is just as a lead magnet. So even if those customers don't convert, we're capturing leads at a much higher clip than off, say, your welcome pop-up. And we're also getting some really robust customer data. So we're getting preferences, we're getting direct zero-party data about who are you shopping for, right? So Modibodi, one of our key demographics is teen, and we're finding that it's often the mother shopping for the teen, and that's really hard to know if you don't ask the customer. So I think that's been a really important way that the quizzes have helped us, facilitate our customer marketing objectives.
Yeah, that's such a good call out. Like often, we see platforms that, aim to try and, understand customers through purchasing behavior, purchasing patterns, and those sorts of things. But there's insights that you can't get unless you're speaking to your customers. And it's great that you can start dragging these things out that would have otherwise sort of been unnoticed. So no, that's awesome. Cal, I'll throw to you now. From an agency perspective, what's the biggest shift you're seeing in customer marketing, within e-commerce, and how's it going to shape your approach to working with brands like Modibodi?
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Look, one of those significant changes is the focus on harvesting zero-party data, right? So we want to be asking our customers directly to provide more information about themselves and their interests and preferences and things like that, so that we can build richer profiles on our customers beyond just, as you say, an email address and what they've purchased. And then we want to start leveraging all of that rich information to provide uh, better customer experiences, whether that be something that's more personalized and tailored to the individual, or whether it's just understanding our customer better so that we can make better decisions about the product that we sell, how we present it, how we merchandise it, and so on. So, as our role as an agency and growth partner for a lot of businesses, we really like to challenge the brands we work with to think a little bit more deeply about how they go about collecting information and what they do with that information about the customers, right? Part of that is making sure that we don't have silos of information across the tech stack. We want to be harmonizing all of that data and essentially creating what used to be the Holy Grail, single customer view, right? We want all of the information on the customer in one place so that we can activate it more intelligently across the customer experience.
Yeah, awesome. And, when we look at all of that, it sounds like you've touched on it a little bit, but what's most exciting for brands in terms of how they can use this data and integrate it to their marketing strategy? Maybe we could have some examples or something there.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think uh, things are within reach of all e-com brands that, I mean, I'm going to uh, talk about Shopify here because that's what I know. But in the Shopify space, all of this stuff is very accessible, right? So in the case of quizzes, this is a fantastic way for the brand to not only improve conversions because we are taking customers that don't know anything about the product through a journey where they can give us information about their preferences and then be provided with a limited subset of the entire catalog that matches those preferences. But the secondary benefit is one of education. In doing that, we have educated that customer about the features of the product so that by the end of that journey, they now feel like they know how to understand how that product works. As Jacob says, it's not a simple fashion purchase where you buy what looks good. It's more of bringing the customer on the journey, explaining how the product works, giving them the right set of products. And if you think about the downstream impact of that, you then have a reduction in your return rate and customer dissatisfaction and so on. But the tertiary benefit of doing that, we've now harvested all of that beautiful information about the customer preference, which then goes into the customer within Shopify, and we can pass that information through to different activations. So in the case of a lot of the brands that we work with, that might be flowing that information through to Klaviyo so that we can then make different types of segmentation decisions or automation decisions in that platform. And again, really what we're striving for is just moving towards that highly personalized experience for the customer. So all of this stuff is now very much available to people in the Shopify space. And the more that third-party apps lean into sharing information, I think the better outcome we will get as entrepreneurs on the platform.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Jacob, one for you. When you first considered quizzes for Modibodi, what were the key objectives? What are the key outcomes that you're looking for? I think you touched on it briefly earlier, but yeah, what was the goal for the launch of quizzes?
Yeah, I think I probably jumped the gun with my last response and, and answered a little bit ahead, but yeah, I think the key driver was really around improving conversion, and I think it works in two ways. I think Cal touched on it really nicely with it's not just about guiding people through the process, but there's education of the customer through that process. And it's a gamified way where you just like click the next button and almost without even knowing it or trying to do it, you learn about, oh, I need to decide between, in Modibodi's case, it's between different absorbencies, whereas otherwise you'd probably land on a product page or a collection page and like, well, what are these? What's the difference? Or you've now got to make 3 or 4 different decisions on a product page because you've got your style, your color, your size, your absorbency, and it reduces that decision fatigue, which really helps facilitate that journey. The other piece is actually just enhancing that discovery. So we've got about 1,500 SKUs, and we do our best with filters and creating collections and promoting and getting people in funnels through ads and different entry points. But the truth is, a lot of people just land on the homepage. We get a lot of direct traffic or come from all kinds of different sources, and to have a mechanism to help people navigate the website, and it's also just giving the customer choice. Some people are searchers. I'm one of those types. Like my filing system on my computer is a complete mess because I search for everything. And some people have meticulously organized systems and they know that, yes, this is in subfolder 1.3.1.4b. That's where I find that information. And some people just want to be guided through the process. So I think giving the customer all of the options, and giving the right customer the right option, that I think is really where the power comes.
Yeah. You touched on something there that I'm putting you on the spot here. Whereabouts does a customer interact with your quiz? So I land on your site. How do I take the quiz on Modibodi?
Yeah, so great question. I'm going to jump the gun from a little bit later again, but really it's so the key place that it shows is on the homepage, right? That's where we first started. It's like, all right, that's where most people start their journey, on the homepage. That's where they're learning about the brand. But what we found is that, off the back of some of the results that we're seeing from the quiz, we thought, all right, well, where else can we show it? So we started moving it higher up on the homepage. We've implemented pretty extensively in our email flows. So particularly in like the welcome flow, you've come in, a typical customer who hasn't purchased and is in the welcome flow has identified some kind of affinity with the brand, but isn't at the point of purchase yet. So having it in that environment we find really effective. And then there's also other things that, probably more in the pipeline, but, having it in a pop-up on a collection page, right? If you get down to the 3rd page of a collection page, you probably need some help finding what you're looking for, or finding those opportunities. Again, some of those we haven't implemented yet, but what we found is actually the more that we've put the quiz in front of people, the better it's performed and the more better result we have. Now, I'm sure we'll find the limit at some point, but we haven't yet.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm keen to dig into that a little bit more.
Alex, I might just jump in if
Yeah,
that,
please.
sorry to knock you
No,
off, but I just wanted to add to what Jacob said. The other thing to consider is one of time. When do we show this quiz? So, for example, Mother's Day, right? Mother's Day would be a fantastic time to launch a quiz in the lead up to Mother's Day, because people might be visiting a website to make a buying decision for somebody to buy a product that they don't know anything about. So in the course of that journey, they may want to focus on, well, I want to spend $50 or $100. So that might be one of the leading questions in the quiz, followed down, what does the person like, so on and so forth, to help them arrive at a gifting choice. Or, in the lead up to Christmas, it might be decisions about buying a toy for your nephew, right? You don't see them very often. You don't know much about them, but you can answer some questions about their, age and, general preference and that kind of thing. And that can help you land on that decision. So I'd say the other thing would be when you show the quiz, and experimenting as well. I think testing the impact to conversion by hiding or showing the quiz at different points in the UI, but also at different pages through the website. I really like what Jacob just said. If the customer hits the 3rd page of a collection, they may be feeling overwhelmed by what we call the tyranny of choice. It's too many products. I can't make sense of this. Hey, we'll throw you a lifeline. Take this quiz and we'll help you decide.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying there, and to give everyone on the call some insights about how Okendo's approaching sort of quizzes and when to present them and different options there. as a general strategy, and this works for most people, but it is a case of having maybe we'd call it an evergreen quiz, something that's a bit more top of funnel, connected to the homepage, easily accessible for customers who are going to be newer to the brand. But then certainly tying in seasonal occasions, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, Black Friday, having these seasonal events where traffic's high, and then using those events to drive traffic to new quizzes that are focused around those seasonal occasions is, yeah, super valuable and allows you to reconnect and re-engage with customers who've maybe taken your evergreen quiz once or twice, then, pushing them back to the website, through marketing channels, through paid channels to a new piece of engagement to get some more data and get some more conversion is so valuable. So, no, that's awesome. Love it. Implementation. It can often be a sticking point for onboarding a new product, a new platform. Happy to hear from both of you. Obviously, you're both heavily involved in the implementation of Okendo Quizzes for Modibodi. What was the experience like, and how did we make sure that that aligned with the core values and principles from Modibodi?
Absolutely. I might kick this one off, Jacob, if that's okay. But essentially, the need was identified. So there was a hypothesis that customers were falling out of the funnel through that process, and the hypothesis was that's because of the difficulty in making the right decision. So as a group, we discussed this between Modibodi and the working party, and we agreed that we would reach out to Okendo and deploy the quiz product. And the hypothesis was helping customers navigate that by helping them with that decision making would improve conversion. So we actually moved really fast on this. We made the decision in the morning. I think we reached out to Okendo that same day, organized a demo, and then the next week we were in deployment mode. And one of the things that Okendo helped us all as a group with was designing that initial quiz, right? So working through, what the ideal questions were, the ideal quiz length and everything else. And we stood that quiz up quite rapidly. The hypothesis being that we wanted to get it in front of customers and start collecting data to understand if this was going to impact things. We saw immediate results. So having that quiz live had a measurable impact on that conversion through that step of the funnel. And straight away, I think we saw kind of immediate ROI on that investment. Jacob, I don't know if you agree, but it was definitely, we moved quickly. Okendo was super helpful in that process, and we saw immediate ROI.
Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll just piggyback off the back of that. I mean, yeah, absolutely, there was immediate ROI, and like just in terms of the results, yeah, it was super clear from the beginning. Like the conversion rate of somebody who's come through the quiz from our perspective is about 3 times what the standard conversion rate is. Now, I'm always a bit skeptical about that kind of data because there's a pre-selection into the quiz. So people who do the quiz generally have a high propensity to convert, but definitely anyone who that'll impact some amount, but 3x the amount is like, we're very happy with how that conversion boosts. The other result that I think is really key to talk about, and I mentioned it a little earlier, is the lead magnet impact. So, I think like people who complete the quiz, something like 40% of people who complete the quiz, we get their email address. So it's just this huge opportunity to harvest these leads. In addition to the harder to quantify, but still really important value of collecting that zero-party data to allow you to segment, personalize, and also outside of the e-commerce space, like that can feed product decisions, right? Like that can actually go upstream to production and planning to see, well, what are people clicking on? What are people engaging with? And what do our customer segments look like? So results have been really great. Just coming back to the implementation point, I think I would say that the key to the successful implementation is working with good partners, so Okendo and the working party and the like, but really understanding the product side. So from the brand's perspective, understanding the products, making sure that you're connecting the right products to the right questions, that'll actually have a big impact on the results, because no matter how good the platform is, no matter how good the questions you ask are, if you're not giving the customer a good experience and providing relevant recommendations based on their answers to the questions, then it's going to be a poor experience. So I think that's something to really keep in mind and really make sure that you get right as the brand implementing quizzes, is that connection of the products to questions and making sure that that's accurate.
Yeah, no, that's super valid. And obviously, being on the Okendo side of things, we are experts at our product when it comes to implementation and, getting the quiz up and running. That's what we're experts in. We try and be experts in all of our customers, but unfortunately, we don't have the product knowledge you guys do. So yeah, being able to lean on you to create the sort of the content, make sure that products are linking, or the questions and responses and customers are reaching the right products is super valuable. Then yeah, you can lean on people like Akendo and the working party to pretty much execute for you guys. No, that's awesome. Um, okay, again for both of you. How do you ensure quizzes stay relevant and are sort of updating with, customer trends and changes? And I guess ongoing insights, and how are these sort of evolving over time?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in on this one, Cal. I think that from the updates and relevance side, I think one of the keys is to actually have an owner of the quiz internally. So somebody who, whenever you have a new product release, makes sure that those products are tagged in Akendo and that it's going to show up in the right, again, in the right places. So within the quiz, having an owner who's looking at the results, ideally reporting on the results and sharing that, and then continually optimizing is I think a critical component, because there's many ways that you can tweak it. So have an owner would be the meta step that just addresses all of those. The other piece is, I touched on a little bit earlier, is where does it appear? So it's not just within the quiz that you can optimize, but also where on the site does it show up? And we're running a bunch of A/B tests around where does it show up and how does it show up, and what's the most effective place to display the quiz. So that to me are the two ways to look at relevance: is where does it show up and what shows up internally, and having an owner is probably the key to that.
Totally agree. Just a couple of other things as well. Like I think there are quizzes that are evergreen. I can't remember which of you said that word before, but there are quizzes that are always on. There are quizzes that are sometimes on. And there are quizzes that, if you could imagine a business that was launching a new product line, might be a great time to, when you launch that product line, also launch a quiz to help customers understand how to purchase that new product line. The other thing is, not all products are going to need a quiz, right? Some products are straightforward, and I think a quiz would not be relevant. It may be overkill or would clutter the UI. But making that decision about, is this product more complex? In the case of Modibodi, as Jacob mentioned, we have different factors that aren't immediately obvious to a customer, or it could be the product has some other kind of feature or decision that customers need to be educated about. So we would be deploying a quiz to solve that problem, rather than it's a universal solution to every problem.
Something that sounds like it's popped up a few times, particularly for Modibodi, is the quiz has almost become a bit of a education exercise and branding exercise. The education and understanding they get from completing the quiz is going to help, your other branding and marketing exercises hit as well. So I think, yeah, one of those sort of phase two or third level factors, besides the conversion rate and customer data capture. Nice. So next off, maybe Jacob, another one for you guys. We've highlighted how much data is captured as a part of, or zero-party data is being captured as part of the quiz. How are you using this data to personalize the shopping experience and your customer retention ongoing?
Yeah, sure. I think that this is one where I'm like, I love what we're doing, but I'm in some ways more excited about what we can do and the future of it. At the moment, obviously, we capture that data that gets attached to the customer profile, which allows us to then send personalized email segments. So we can we have different flows within our welcome series to say, hey, if you came in and told us that you're buying swimwear, we'll tailor our messaging towards swimwear. And if you told us you're buying for your daughter, we'll send you more of the teen segmented information. So building out those customer segments in CRM is probably the place that we're using it best at the moment. where I think the opportunity lies for us and where the next steps are and where I'm keen to continue to take it is really around on-site personalization. So feeding that information and that data back into on-site personalization tools like your rebuys and your search springs and all the very many others that are out there. And then, like I mentioned before, getting that data in a format that it's actually really useful to the product team and sending it further upstream to really take that insight. And obviously the product team, the marketing team, like these are really, it's a great way to capture those early indicators without necessarily somebody needing to commit to a purchase. So CRM is like a really obvious one. Personalization is probably next off the rank. And then downstream or upstream rather into product.
Nice. Anything to add there, Cal? Yeah.
No, look, totally agree. I think with harvesting this information, there's so much that a brand could do, right? It's kind of mind-boggling if you think about the ability for a brand to then dial in those personalized experiences, or improve how they merchandise or improve how they purchase. And I would say that not to go too far off topic, but other parts of the Okendo stack where we can be asking customers directly for feedback and this type of thing can really help us dial in our experience to be better, and service our customers better, and ultimately that is what grows revenue.
Awesome. Last question for us, and if any of the attendees have got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat now. We'll get there in just a second. So our last one from us is, I guess, what advice could you give brands who are considering implementing a quiz, and what should they keep in mind to make sure it's successful?
Yeah, sure. I think from my side, the piece that I would recommend making sure you do upfront, besides pick a good platform and pick a good partner and make sure that you're set up for success in that way, is think through what data you want to capture. Because if you think through that ahead of time, I'm sure we've all had an experience. Anyone who works in e-commerce has tried to do some analysis, has done the analysis and said, "Oh no, I wish we started collecting this data earlier because now I can't actually derive any insight." So think through what data you want to capture up front and start capturing it, because even if you don't need it just yet or it's not the immediate priority, you're going to want it 6, 12, 18 months down the line. So capture it now, think that through, and then make sure that that's embedded in your implementation.
Mm.
Cool.
That's a great point. And yeah, best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now, right? So let's start harvesting that data now. But I would say as well, another piece of advice would be encouraging a culture of data within the business, right? Because it's not all businesses care about this stuff, but they probably should be thinking about it and understanding how they could be leveraging that information to build a better business. So thinking through the different ways that you could activate that, bearing in mind that's going to be unique to every brand, it would be another good thing before you break ground on a project like this.
Awesome. Okay, all right, couple of final questions, and please, attendees, if you've got questions, let us know, put your hand up, send them through. We do have a couple here already. So what do you think is the most important factor for brands to consider when crafting customer marketing strategies? Who wants it?
Geez, that's a doozy, that one.
Yeah,
We could
we're
talk
right
about
on
it all
time
day.
here. Not too much time. If we could get the Cliff Notes version, the 1 minute spiel.
Yeah, I mean, the 1 minute spiel is, for me, the one word spiel is differentiation, right? You have to be like, what makes you distinct from the competition? We're in an era where it's never been easier to set up a Shopify store or set up a web store. Sourcing products has never been easier. Like the barriers to entry have never been lower. So having that defensible moat, having that differentiation between yourself and your competition is, I think, probably the most important factor, because everything else starts to become commoditized.
Awesome. All right, we're bang on time. Thank you, Jacob and Cal. You've been a pleasure to chat with today, and you've shared really valuable insights across, quizzes and more generally customer marketing. So thank you both.